Hey everyone, let's talk about a collection in C Sharp which is highly in use but extremely misunderstood. It is used in API, database, caching, performance, everywhere. But majority of the people think it helps us to solve few coding problem. That's all. But that's not the case. The reason why it's so misunderstood is largely because the people haven't get into the core of it. How it uses hashing, what is buckets, what is collision, how it handles it. And the core reason of all this confusion is coming from this question. The culprit is this question. Find the occurrence of each character in a string. And because of this, since this question comes almost in every C sharp interview, even I have personally, solved this question more than 20 to 30 times live during the coding round. So because of that, a lot of people, without understanding the inner details of this, have just simply memorized the syntax and know how to use it. But even after, let's say they, solve the problem correctly, they are not able to answer these questions, which are definitely going to be asked as a follow up. Since you are using a dictionary, how it actually uses things behind the scenes. So, in this video, let's talk about dictionary. So, let's flip to Visual Studio where we will see what a dictionary is. Now, let's create a small employee management system where we will try to fetch the details of an employee, a particular employee, through two different collections, one through the list and one through the dictionary. And we will see the difference why dictionary is such a crucial part, especially when we want to fetch a data based on a particular key, kind of a primary key used in database. So if let's say there is an ID and there are multiple records out there against that ID, such kind of cases will be there in employee management system that employee will have its employee ID, but it will have so many attributes like name, age, blood group, contact number, city, and so on, the department. So all these things will capture and see how dictionary make things much faster. I mean, it's almost instant when it comes to fetching the data. So let's create a class called employee. Now let's create some class. Create one class called employee, which will have some name would be salary. Okay. And now we will create object of this employee class and we will populate some employees out here. Now let's create an object of this employee class and start populating few employees for our um, you know for our fetching values of these employee one through. We'll try to fetch the details of a particular employee through list and then we'll do it with the help of dictionary and we'll see what actual difference we get out of that. Let's say salary is, let's say, 1 lakh. Okay. Now let's populate few more employees. In the interest of time, let me have it pasted here. I already have created 10 more employees out there. Now let's say you want to fetch the detail of 1007, this employee, Vikram, right? How would you do this using list? Imagine there is an UI and there is a text box which allows us to search for an employee. And that UI allowed you to search 1007 and you click on search button. So, and now let's imagine we got that employee ID the moment somebody from UI clicked on it. And since we are taking example of 1007, that value we got. Is there any direct way you can go inside the list and fetch it? I don't think so, right? What we actually have to do is we have to loop it. We have to go inside each and every. Okay. No, and I'm deliberately ignoring all those edge cases when This ID might not be in the list and so on. Just for simplicity. But even for a simple manipulation, just to find a particular ID, we literally had to go through entire list one by one to find it. And we are ignoring all the edge cases, mind you. If we have to implement it on our own, right? Somebody can do a mistake, right? 107. And what will happen? It will break the program. So all those edge cases we've got to solve on our own. Now let's implement the same functionality using dictionary. As of now, we were using list. Okay. Now let's do the same thing using dictionary. Now lookup cycle. How much time is it gonna cost? Time not for us, for operating system. As you know the syntax, this is the dictionary and it will take key. Key is something which is gonna be unique and that's gonna, help us identify all the values attached to that key. So in this case, the best key for us would be an integer type because employee ID is of type integer. We will give the integer as the type of key. And for value, we will give the employee class. Okay. Now, here's the thing. This dictionary is a generic type. You can pass any parameter for key as well as for value. So keep this in mind that in this first parameter of the dictionary always represents key, and the second the value associated with it. Okay, and since it is coming from a generic type, we are totally allowed to give our own type of key as well as of value. Now let's see how we can actually find a particular employee in just one go. Now, in the interest of time, let me convert this entire list into uh, dictionary. Else, we'll have to again code the entire thing again. How we do that? We'll take the employee dictionary object and we'll add all the employee by looping it through. Okay, and the first value it will take is the ID and the entire object as a second parameter. Now, since this employee list has become into the dictionary, we have added all the key and its values in the dictionary. Let's see how much time now we need to fetch a particular employee ID. Just observe how a small piece of line, this statement, will help us, find what we were looking for, which using list took so much time, right? We literally had to traverse through the entire array. What was the variable we gave? Okay, employee list. Okay. So what we are doing is from this dictionary object, we are trying to see if this object contains the key of this, which will be like 1007. If that's the case, then we'll go ahead and fetch the list of everything we need. How we do that? Okay, through again the list. Through this key, now all the values associated against this list, against this ID, will be transferred to this employee. And now we can simply console the value out here. Please observe very carefully. When we were manipulating with list, we literally had to go through each element to find this employee ID and all the values associated with it. But here, all we are doing is the dictionary code basically starts here, right? That we are going and checking if that employee ID exists or not. And if it is there, then using this syntax. So remember the syntax, right? The dictionary object will be So remember the syntax that employee object or dictionary object will take the key and all the value associated we can fetch and return. Okay. So now I hope you have understood how much time it does save. The metaphorical representation you see here is not coming out of the box. It is a deliberate attempt of mine to show you that dictionary of C sharp works exactly the way we have been using since childhood. Now with the invent of internet, things are different, but dictionary is exactly that. That we go for a particular keyword, let's say word like maybe A or B or whatever, and when we go to that page which represents a word A, sorry, a character A, it will have all the words around A, apple, aeroplane, and so on. So that's exactly how very close to that it works. But how this key and value lookup works internally is something we are gonna understand now. If you take an example of key Priya, that Priya is a key, and all the associated value of Priya, let's say her employee data, age, name, blood, department, and so on, everything will be considered as a value, and that entire value, the entire object, will be only associated with Priya. So whenever we want to find, let's say, her age or maybe her department, we will not go to value and find all those details one by one. We'll directly come to this key, and that key will be pointing to that value. But how it actually works internally is something very important to understand. So let me rephrase whatever we have learned, that dictionary is a collection of key and value pair. Okay, key must be very unique because give, the moment you try to, you know, uh, add two same key, it will give you an error. So that is one thing. You cannot have two keys for the same values. That's one thing. Duplicate key will throw runtime error. You can run the code which we have created and see what it does. It will give you an error. Let me in fact show you that. As we have just seen that dictionary doesn't allow duplicate values. But let's try to add a value in the same for the same employee ID through dictionary. Okay. Now let's run the program and see how it actually works or not. And you will realize that it will throw an error. And the error will be pointing to this 1001 because through dictionary we are trying to add another value against the same key, which is not possible. You see the error, right? We are trying to add a duplicate key. Okay, so since we have already proved it, let's continue understanding all other points. Now, after going all this, I hope it is very clear that one data structure can literally go ahead and help us solve all the problems. And at the same time, we will be able to tackle all the follow-up questions, which we already have seen. Okay. So in dictionary, you must remember that data is stored as key and value. Key will be key will be the one which will be pointing to all the values, and through key only we will be able to access those values. Okay, that's one thing, and it uses hashing internally. So before we put ourselves in a situation where we will be explaining how uh, you know dictionary uses hashing, let's try to understand what hashing actually is. Hashing is the one which converts the key into numeric hash code. What I mean, I will show you that. Now let me prove to you that dictionary, how hashing actually helps us to convert the key into hash code. So just put this code below wherever you have, you know, in, wherever you have created the dictionary, where you have basically populated the dictionary, right? And just run the code, and you will see the hash code of those employee ID, basically the keys of each one. And usually not, it doesn't have to be. Usually it uses the same key to hash it. Why it does do that? Why it actually does that? Let's see. It does because see understand the how dictionary actually interacts with hashing. If you call this one, then you will get the hash code which we have just seen. So this hash code has got something to do with the bucket count. There is something called bucket index, which we'll cover in the next video. So this key value pair is stored in that bucket using this hash code. Okay. So the key will be first converted to hash code, and then that hash code will be, directing to bucket index. What is that bucket? You see here. Now let me explain you what this bucket actually is. Now please pay your attention. It's a very important concept. Okay. See, let's understand what bucket actually means here. Okay. A dictionary maintains an array. So every dictionary, something like this, what you see here. Okay. It looks like an array, right? Think of it like a row of boxes. So each of them represents a box, right? Each position in this array is called a bucket. So this zeroth position is in itself a bucket. This one also is in itself a bucket, and so on. So dictionary is maintaining number of buckets. What it actually do, right? When we insert a key, the moment we, let's say, insert the key, the ID which we show you, and also the hash code, right? The moment it gets inserted, this key generates a hash code. This key will generate a hash code, and that hash code tells that dictionary which bucket to use. Now, dictionary has reached out to hash code through this key, and the hash code is actually the one gonna decide or tell the dictionary which bucket you should be choosing. Okay. So instead of searching everywhere, dictionary jumps directly to one bucket because it already has the awareness of hash code. Because hash code is the one being created through this key, isn't it? So it knows where exactly I have kept, under which bucket I have kept my hash code, right? So only one bucket we need to search. So in our example, we had a lot of employee list, right? So what we can do, consider this one to be an employee one, and its value is also, let's say, same, Shubham, and age is 28 or whatever, right? So dictionary doesn't have to go to each and every bucket to see where exactly that employee key with its hash code will be there. All it needs to do is to know the hash code, and hash code is kind of a room number. There's a big apartment out there, and consider a room number 1007. Inside that, let's say three or four people are there. One of them is Shubham. So if you know the room number, you can go directly there and find me or find anyone you're looking for. So I hope this clarifies the bucket story. Where does this bucket actually come from? It's a dictionary's way of keeping these things organized, the key and its values. Now let's move on. What is collision? Collision is a very interesting thing. This is where two or more keys are going to collide, and how dictionary is going to solve this issue is also very interesting. So let's understand. Collision is basically a very important edge case which we should remember. It is where two keys, you know, uh, gets assigned to the same bucket, which we just saw here. So key A and key B, you know, both of them are assigned to room number three or bucket three. In that situation, how things work? Different keys can generate same hash code. It's possible, and that's why I told you that it is a very strange, you can hash code, you can say, right? When key A generates a hash code and key B also generates a hash code, and after calculating the bucket index, if let's say turns out that both of them are going to be in bucket three, right? It doesn't mean keys are equal. It only means that hash code, fortunately or unfortunately, collided, and that helped them to put in the same bucket. It's only because of the same hash code. But even if let's say they have got the same hash code, one thing is there to save them, the key number. One will have key A, one will have key B. Hash code might have matched, the bucket index might have matched, but it's the key which is gonna find out. The problem is that it might take more time to find. If there's no collision, then we will be able to find it in one shot. That we know the bucket index and we'll go and pick it. But if let's say there are multiple people, let's say three or four Shubham are there, and all four of them are in the same room. So what will happen, right? That you have to go to the room and check with everyone. But one of them will be having different Aadhaar card or whatever. So that's the kind of tricky situation we might fall into. See, I know this video has become a lot bigger than expected, but that's totally fine because this one concept, all the questions which I showed you, and there are many which we will be solving in this series, needed this in dictionary thing, and there are a lot of follow-ups which we can expect. I mean, we can't do much about it, right? Except answering them because just because you're not aware of small things, whatever I've told you, it's not that tricky, right? But since people don't know this, and if there is anything still left, please let me know in the comment. I will try to cover that as well. Because if you want to, especially want to go and clear product-based companies, that is the place where these deeper questions will keep on coming, and you'll not be able to, get past through the interview without answering them. Even in service-based company. Just the other day, yesterday itself, one of our junior in my group told me that in round one itself, he was asked only the scenario-based question, nothing C sharp, nothing from basic of this, or not even coding. I've already asked him to share the code. The moment I get it, I will share with you as well. Now, since this video has already got so big, I genuinely didn't expect but I wanted you guys to look into every aspect. So that's why it might have. That's totally fine. So let's understand. I mean, there are a few points. Let me cover, and then we'll wrap this video. So when to use dictionary? Only when repeated you are searching against a particular ID. Let's say there's a database record, right? There's a primary key, and you want to interact with database. At that time, dictionary might be the best thing for you because all the primary key will be in a way in dictionary will represent key and all other values like employee name, whatever. If let's say we are talking about APIs, all those data and API demands can be fetched through dictionary, and we do that. It's just that a lot of time we don't have, we haven't seen that. I'll show you not production code, but in the .NET code itself, how it actually being used. Okay, when we want to avoid nested loop, the simplest thing is then when we want a faster lookup against a particular key, against a primary key, particular key that represents multiple values. Simply as simple as that. Okay, it's not about counting. It's always about fast lookup. A lot of people associate this with like count the occurrence of each character, and that has become a synonym for dictionary. That is wrong. Dictionary is a collection, and that question is one question, fortunately or unfortunately, has been floating in the market for last 3 5 years, and constantly every employer is basically asking that question. But because of that, it had become synonyms. That's not the fact on the ground. Okay. So whenever you've got the chance to find a key which has got values, let's say employee ID and employee details, all this way, all these are the best place to showcase your dictionary talent or implement dictionary because that will be super fast. In one, I mean, directly you will reach there. You don't even have to look through, look through any list or something, isn't it? Okay. So I think we are sorted. Okay. When not to use dictionary, the moment I say sorted, the sorting word came. Order or sorting is not required. Whenever you don't have to sort it out, you can ignore dictionary. Right? Whenever you need index-based operation, you don't have to use dictionary. In these few use cases where you can ignore. In those cases, you use these data structure already there. We have good collections, right, in C Sharp. So these are also there. And in real world, how many places we use? All of us are using. It's just that we might not have, focus that is representing the dictionary. The JSON deserialization, that's exactly dictionary, right? It represents string and an object which is coming. In HttpContext.item, go and see in your code. You will see all this are using dictionary. But unfortunately, whenever I am taking an interview, majority of the people don't reply. Max to max, they reply that it represents a key and value. And the moment you tweak this question slight a bit, what if, let's say, what if I want to send some different object than expected or something like that, even smaller one, they get completely lost. They don't even have idea like hash code that we can even fetch the hash code against those keys. Anyway, the point is that these things gives you a very clear picture, and I can assure you because I have given so many product-based company interview, this topic get raised. Because remember, this dictionary thing is nothing but exact synonym of something we have in Java. That is hash map, or if I'm not wrong, I'm missing out the word maybe. And that's a very legendary question, which every Java developer has got to answer. That internal working of hash map or something. They ask. So it's very much like that. So the importance of hashing is very much because it saves a lot of time. And in our industry, when we are working on an application, even 0.01 millisecond is too much, right? And that's exactly the debate between Angular and React, that is 0.012 ms faster than all those things. But anyways, yes, app setting is definitely an environment variable. Also uses dictionary. Okay. Yeah, there are some more use cases of dictionary is when we are, fetching the HTTP context. Its item is actually stored. So whenever from now you've been asked that what are the real use cases or where exactly have you implemented dictionary, openly say that these are the places I've used it already. There are enough number of places we have already used it. That's reality. And I'm going to end this video right here because even I am tired explaining this. It was a long video. With this question, you can definitely expect what is the difference between dictionary versus HashSet. We will be covering, we'll create a separate video because HashSet is also a very interesting topic and a lot of people don't know when to use this. But to simplify this the HashSet only stores unique value. If let's say there's an example of a string where let's say there are 5A and then 2B and 3Cs, the HashSet will only keep A, B, C. So whenever you get a question like remove the you know repeating character, but don't use this because you'll have to again go into the inner implementation of this. That question I'll be covering anyways. My point is, but the main difference is that the dictionary uses key and value pair. HashSet is something which only allows storage of unique value. Okay, but we will cover HashSet in detail. I can assure you in the next video maybe, or in one of the videos whenever we are solving any data structure question. If that is required, then definitely we'll talk about HashSet. And yes, this is going to be our next question, which we will solve, but with understanding, not the way that people have just because memorized it and they are able to solve it. Because they literally fall into the trap of follow-up question. I am taking and giving interviews for like so many years, like last 3 to 5 years. And I've at least given 100 of interviews, given and taken collectively. Because as I told you in one of the video, like bench and all. But anyway, my point is that we will be doing all this in the coming videos. All this question is to some. I already have solved it. Please go and have a look into it. That will also give you a very hands-on idea how actually to use dictionary. And after this video, you'll have a very clear picture as well, right? So these are the few points you can, for now, remember what exactly is HashSet, but will not be covering in this video because this video is already too long. HashSet, I will have a separate video. But these things you can keep a screenshot, go through about it, read about it, so that when I explain you, you'll be in a better position to understand and grasp better. Okay, so the biggest advantage of dictionary in one word is that it reduces the nested looping into one single lookup. In one go, you can literally go to that particular room number, which the metaphor we used, and no matter how many Shubhams are there, you can pick one against that particular Aadhaar card or PAN card or whatever, because the key will always gonna be unique. Okay, so all this problem we will be covering in coming videos. Till then, keep learning, keep solving problems, and keep doing hands-on. Thank you.